All right, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's nice to meet you all. It's been a while, but since Thursday. Mama's been almost 7 days. It's good to see you, ditching you again on Sunday and Monday. Same shtick. We decided not to because he could only in the end he couldn't do either slot. He thought he could do Sunday and not Monday. So we'll figure it out. So today we're on the very bottom of Memches Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom, and we're going to be learning today until the top of Nun Amud Beis. It's not a lot of text as it relates to Dafim of Gemara, probably no different than in volume than a regular shiur. Pretty smooth flowing. Let's jump right in. Omar Rava, again, Memches Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom. Rava says, Hilchasa, Tal Yuhu Vizavin, if someone hung him up and forced him to sell, this is again, their colloquialisms of the day. If someone forces someone to sell, it literally translates as if someone hung you up until you paid, which is, we will soon see in the Gemara, is what happened to someone. So then, zvini, the sale is a sale. If I force you to sell, the sale is a sale. I'm only thinking about this now. I didn't think, is that the Isra of Lo Sachmod? I think that's a typical Isra of Lo Sachmod, no? Anyways, makes you not so frum. But,
right, but the question
is the sale a sale?
Is the sale a sale?
Yeah, and it does seem that that's the case. Okay, sidebar, I don't know. Now, when do we say that a sale is a sale? Below Amran, Ella, turning to the top of Memches Amud Beis, Besada Stam. That's if I say to you, tax, you better sell me one of your fields. However, Aval Besada Zu Lo. If I say I want your field, this specific field, your field number 4, and I force you to sell it, no, that's not considered a sin, because that's already too particular. The halacha has a limit. And says the Gemara, Sadazu namilo amran, and even when it was Sadazu, also not the case, Ela delo artse zuze. It's also it will still be a sale if you count the coins. Aval lo artse zuze, if you didn't, I'm sorry, Ela lo artse zuze. If you don't count the coins, I'm just picturing the scene in my head. I say to you, you need to sell me field number 4. And you force me, twist my arm, you put the cash in my hand. I'm so upset I don't even count it. So says the Gemara, that's when it doesn't take, because I've shown my deep disdain for what's happening. Aval, if I counted it, now then I've showed that I'm okay with it. And if I was able to get out of it and I just didn't, and then obviously there was an element of me that wanted the sale. If I'm really forced, okay, then I've got it. That's a distinction as well. The Hilchasa, but we don't paskin like Rava. The Hilchasa is not like Rava. We hold the opposite. Bekulhu dehavu zvini, meaning we remove all the conditions that sadezu versus sadestam, arti, velo arti, none of that. It's always zvine ve'afilu b'sadezu deha isha kisadezu damya, because there's a similarity between an isha and a field. What is this talking about? The Amar Meimar, Tal Yuhu v'Kadish, if she was forced to get engaged, Kiddushav Kiddushin. Says the Gemara, no dice. That's not even true. While that is the Shita of some, it is not the Shita at all. The Shita of all. Mar bar Ravashi, Amar Be'isha, Vadai Kiddushin lo havu. That's a forced Kiddushin. If I walk over to a woman and say, take this from me right now, Harat Mikudeshes Libatabazuk Das Moshe B'Yisrael with Aiden, and I force it into her pocketbook or into her hand, that's not a Kiddushin. You're a horrible person. That's not a Kiddushin. And that should not, says the Gemara, Hu asa shaloka hogan. The guy tried to propose halachically shaloka hogan outside of what was normal. He didn't do something that was right. So the Chachamim said, no, you don't get to manipulate people like that. It's not right. I love this. The Gemara says that means that the Kiddushin is mufka, dissolved. Yes, you did all the mechanical steps. It's a shava pruta. It's in front of Aiden, and she took it from you. Let's say the Chachamim that because the institution of Kiddushin is only run al pi the Rabbanon, because you broke the normal rules of the Rabbanon, they can therefore invalidate your marriage, and therefore we don't make this comparison.
That technically works. Technically, it works.
Instantly
means they can't.
There's no delay of game.
But the agreed. But what I'm saying is that the motion of forking the ring on their finger. It really works. They punish him and Afkinu.
Why are
Which
you
would be
pushing?
the
Why are
proof
you
of the-
pushing to say that?
If it didn't work, what do you need the Chachamim for? Chachamim Afkinu, they uprooted it.
No, but
Because you're a-
it's like
you're a
we've seen in the
person.
Gemara before that it's Kedas Moshe Yisrael. This is not Das Moshe. You're not. You're-
Totally agree, and that's why they have the ability to uproot it. The Kenyan technically works, which is what we're trying to prove to our case.
No. This is a dissenting opinion. Amaymar had said 7 lines down, "Tell you have a Kaddish Kiddush of Kiddushin." He said that it was Chal. Mar Baravashi says no, they're not married.
But even according to Mar Baravashi, the mechanics works. The Chachamim came along. And
No, the mechanics is the Chachamim.
What do you need? No. Midioraisa, it
You
works.
need it,
V'afkinu-
you need the Chachamim to approve.
Right. V'afkinu Chachamim, Midioraisa, it works. No? V'afkinu Chachamim, they come and they uproot it because they have that.
Take a look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam is about 25 lines down. Mar Baravashi, see that? Amar, b'mecher, see where we are? In inner margin, Mar Baravashi. It's okay. So he says Mar Baravashi Amar, b'mecher modina dehavuzvini.
Tidun Rabbanim, the lowly having kedushin, also shiloko hovet. Right, they took it away from him. The afal gav demina torally havu kedushin. Even though midioraisa, it works. Rabbanan Akrinu, they have the ability to uproot it, and that's the proof to our field case that the halacha is it always would work. When you start messing around with kedushin, the chacham say, "I'll let you be a jerk in the field, but with kedushin, you can't do that."
What's enough, Kamina?
That's what I was saying. Nothing. Just that it's a proof for the field case.
It's not a proof for the field. The first shita was a proof for the field that tell you have a Kaddish Kiddush of Kiddushin.
Based, and you see here, same thing that.
I mean, it's true of
that
both shitas.
forces
It's true of
work.
both shitas.
What?
It's true of the shita that outright says Kiddush of Kiddushin.
Correct. Avkinu chacham means they came in the upward.
I know, but I just, I don't know, in my head, but you're right.
You're right, so it
right.
is a Kenyan.
Correct.
They say no dice. And that's the ability.
So the Chachamim undo.
Correct.
It's true, of course, that's
Not
what the
being
words
free.
mean. I never would have thought that there was a chalos.
There is no halos because the chacham say there can't be.
There has to be enough kamina here, by the way. This would be a fun thing to learn.
If you're a Karaite, there's nothing.
Wow. Throwing punches. What happened when you went to Israel? Everything changed.
Yesterday, a whole day.
Oh my gosh, that's more than I can say for myself. Beautiful. Thank you for pointing that out. I hadn't even finished reading that Rashbam. It was great to see it.
Well,
Thank
it's
you.
hard to finish reading a Rush.
I know, generally speaking. So says the Gemara a third of the way down. Amar le Ravina the Ravashi. Hang on, Ravashi. Hold on. Teinach the Kaddish B'Kaspa. I could understand that there's an element of Kedushin that needs to be mufka because of Kesef. Kaddish B'Bia Ma'ikal Meimar. We know from the beginning of Kedushin that Isha Niknes B'Gimel Drachim. The Kesef B'Shtar B'Bia. You want to be Mafkia Kedushin from a star? No problem. But the Tashmish Amita happened. And that's how they became married. Or I should say, that's how they became betrothed. That's Kedushin. Says the Gemara, Amar Lei, Shavyo Rabban Le'Be'ilaso Be'ilas Nos. I'll say it, and I'm not sure these are the right words, but we retroactively change what happened to something else. It wasn't to be a L'Shem Kedushin. The Chachamim said, you're not acting like a Ben Torah. And therefore, that's not normal. You force the scenario. And therefore, it's a Be'ilas Nos. Gemara tells a story. Tabi was the guy's name. Tali le papi a kinra v'zavin. He hung up papi on a kinra, which is a type of tree, and zavin, and then he forced a sail. I'm not taking you down. Hung him up by his suspenders. I'm not taking you down from the tree until you sell me this item. Some of the other Meporshim say over here that he didn't hang him on a tree, but it's a turn of phrase. That he hung him on a tree. Again, he hung him out to dry, for example. Just that kind of a phrase.
That's not that much sense, right?
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, that's what. If you look in the Rashbam, about 12 lines into the wider lines, it says Tali lepapi be'ilan sheshmo kinra limkor lo sadev lishnachrina tala oso bishvil hakinra shim karenulo. I just which one is it? Is he threatening? I don't know. Amar Rav Huna, Chasam Rabba bar Rav Chana amoda'a ve'ashkalta. Rabba bar Rav Chana had a signature on the moda'a, which is, as we saw earlier in the Masechta, a document that indicates that there was a forced sale, and ashkalta on the regular document of sale. He signed both. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Huna, man dechasim amodah shapir chasim, man dechasim ashkalta shapir chasim. It's okay to have signatures on both of them. The Gemara says, how can you have a signature on both, the forced sale and on the actual sale, manavshach? Imoda lo ashkalta, the ashkalta lo moda. They're conflicting things. One document says I'm hereby forced. The other document says I'm happy to sell. So how can you sign on both of those? They're not the same thing. So if not for the moda, then man dechasim ashkalta shapir chasim. It's just to say that if in fact it wasn't forced, if there was no moda, then the sale would have been one way or the other. The sale is going to be final based on the signatures. And Rav Huna l'taime, Rav Huna holds of this because of the following: the Amar Rav Huna tal you of zvine zvine, because he holds that even if it's forced, what's the difference? You signed on this document or that; they both have the same function. Again, well, you're still a jerk in the first case, and you're not a jerk in the second case, but nevertheless, the sale is the same. Ask the Gemara, Aini, is it really true that this is correct? The Amar of Nachman, bottom line of Mem Chesem days. If there were Eidim that claimed Amana Hayud Varenu, they give testimony, but it's testimony where they want their words to be relied upon, even though there is a document. The Rishonim here explain that let's say there's a document that says I owe you $100, even though you didn't give me the $100 yet. So I wrote the shtar now. It's going to be true tomorrow when you give me the money. Today it's not true. The Eidim give testimony. There is a document that says it, but trust us that we're right. The money hasn't transacted yet. So if the Eidim say that, ein ne'emanim, top of Mem Testament, they're not trusted. Modah hayudvarenu, but if they say that we were forced, then ein ne'emanim as well. Both true. So hani mili, when is this true? Says the Gemara. That's only true al peh. That's only true if the amana was verbal. Delo asi al peh umara lishtara. No verbal word could ever override a written document. So if you want to give testimony today that says, no, Phil doesn't owe Gerald any money, but there's a document that says that Phil owes Gerald money, even though Gerald never gave me the money in the first place. So the halacha is ein ne'eman, because you can't fight against a shtar with your mouth. Aval b'shtara, if you have one shtar against another, asi shtara umara l'shtar, that's okay, that's acceptable. So that will be the difference between these cases, is that if it's peh against shtar, shtar will win every time. If it's shtar against shtar, then we need to figure it out. And sometimes we have machlokos. Gufa, it's the same exact line that we just saw. That we're not believed in either of these cases. But Umar Barabashi argued. He says, Amar amana hayud varenu ein emanan. I agree that when it comes to amana, that if Eidim give testimony against an existing shtar, even though the realities are like the Eidim said, but lemaisa, when you go into court, you're looking at the comparative claims. You have a printed document that seems to show that I owe Gerald money, and you have the words of the Eidim saying, yes, there is a shtar, but Gerald never lent the money to Phil in the first place, never happened, never came to fruition, ein emanan. So there, he agrees by amana, but modah hayud varenu emanan. If he would have said modah, that if he would have claimed that there was a forced document, then they are trusted. My taima. Why? Because shezeh nitan likasev, v'zeh lo nitan likasev. One of these is nitan likasev, and one of them is not. So in the case of modah hayud varenu, there's going to be a ne'emanus, and in the case of amana, there won't be. Let's dig into the next part of the Mishnah. We're about halfway down on Mem Testament Aleph. We said that a man is not able to make a chazaka on the property of his wife. Doesn't sound like a very good marriage to me. I don't know. A husband trying to make a chazaka on his wife's property probably won't go over well. Says the Gemara, pshita, that should be obvious that a husband is not allowed to make a chazaka on the property of a wife. If a wife brings a property into marriage, also known as nichse malug, nichse malug is a property that a woman brings into a marriage, and the husband only has rights to the peiros. So let's say that she brings into the marriage an orange orchard, an apple orchard. He gets all the fruits, but she owns the orchard. So says the Gemara Pshita that because Nechse Malug is structured in that way, Kevin the Islay the Pira, since he has access to the fruits, of course he's allowed to be in there. He can live there all he wants, but he's not a squatter. He's a husband. When a husband has access to Nechse Malug, Pira hu de ka'achir. Of course he can't make a chazaka. So it says the Gemara, this is a Gemara we've seen many times in Shas, Lo tzricha, the kasavla dinu dvarim ene b'nichsai. If a husband the kasavla, he writes to her, I have no shaykhs to your nichse malug. I'm out. So it says the Gemara, perhaps if he no longer has access to nichse malug, because he wrote it off, maybe now he can make a chazaka. Says the Gemara, that doesn't help at all. Who cares? Even if he writes to her that I have no access to your nichsei maluk, it's a zero. Or the claim that a husband says that I have no access to you, I have no interest in your nichsei maluk, the peiros, I'm out, and therefore he can make a chazaka, that claim is a zero. So therefore, husband can't separate himself from the nichsei maluk, and if that's true, he shouldn't be able to make a chazaka. The answer is the Gemara, 3 lines from the bottom. Amrei la de Rav Yanai masnis, and the Mishnah that we just were talking about is talking about the kosev la ve'oda arusa. When did the husband write to her? Dinu dvarim ein li b'nichsayich. That wasn't when they were fully married. It was only when they were halachically engaged. That's it. It says the Gemara the Rav Huna, the Amar Rav Huna, turning to the top of Mem Testament Beis, Nachla habalo la'adam imakom acher, that when I am inheriting money from somewhere, the Rishonim point out that this has to be a case that's a din d'Rabbanan. Adam masna la shelo yirashena. I'm allowed to say I don't want it. Return to sender. So let's say UPS says, here's a Yerusha for you from an uncle that you never met before. If I don't want it, I could just say I don't want it. It's al pi chachamim. It's not midoraisa. So I'm allowed to shut it down. So that's why the Gemara says over here too. He's only an arusa, or he's only an arus. He got engaged, and he knew that she was going to be bringing nichsei malug into the property. If he wants to not accept the peiros of that nichsei malug, sei gesund. That's his right to turn it away. And when he turns it away, that enables him to have a chazaka. So that's what the Gemara says, is how we can structure a case where a husband is, which one is it? When a husband is able to make a chazaka, it must be a case where he turned down the rights to the peiros when they were engaged. Uchad Rava. This is similar to the sheet of Rava as well. Mem Testament Beis, 2 lines down. Dama Rava. Whenever we have a chazaka, whenever we have a takanas chachamim, and I articulate efshi, I'm not interested, that is a fair statement, and I can turn down whatever privilege the chachamim were trying to send my way. Therefore, repeating the same idea again, if a husband, really an arus, if an arus turns away the rights to the peiros of the nichsei malug, good, that's effective. And now that he has a total non-ownership of that property, now he can make a chazaka over that property. Mikey Gonzos, what did this line of Rava mean when he said Kigonzos? There we see another example where a woman is able to say, I don't want to be fed by you, and I don't want to give you my money. I'm not working and giving you my money. She can be financially independent. That's mutter. It was structured the other way. It was structured for her benefit, that she'll always be taken care of. Okay, now she made money. She has to give it to her husband. Why does he have to pay out of his own pocket? So it doesn't make sense. If she's making money, he has to pay for her and she gets to keep her money. That's a steer minei bet. So the husband wanted to keep her and protect her in that way. But you don't want that? Nope. You can be financially independent.
So as if they have 2 checkbooks and she buys the food for her and he buys the food for him.
They live separate financial lives. I know couples like that.
How do they pay for the dinner? What's the
She buys her own dinner. She buys her ribeye steak, and he buys his ribeye steak.
There are specific things that it's required to give her, and she's passing those up, whatever they are.
Correct. She's saying, I don't want that takanas chachamim. I know it's for my protection. I'm just not interested. She's financially independent, feminist. Well, you can go whatever you want. Doesn't matter what it is. Any woman can do that. They have the right to turn down the takanas chachamim. But if it's not that way, then the husband is obligated to feed her, but any money she makes goes to the cycle of feeding her. It doesn't make sense that she should be able to grow her financial independence at his expense. That's not right. Says the Gemara, Horaya Yesh. If in fact that there is a proof that he bought the property from her, like actual proof that he bought the property from her, not this dinu dvarim ein li b'nichsayeh, but there's a shtar that says that this property has been 100% purchased, clean and free. Yesh. That means he fully, forget nichsei maluk, forget dinu dvarim ein li b'nichsayeh, and forget the takanas chachamim. If we have a guarantee that he actually purchased the property, then yesh. Then it's a real purchase, and then he can in fact make a chazaka on her property. Asks the Gemara, Why would you say that? Tema, perhaps she could say, he wanted to buy my property. Okay, whatever. I'm a nice wife. What?
I didn't want to sell.
Yeah, nothing. Whatever. Okay, take my property, and I'll take the money for it. But whatever. We're married. Like, it doesn't, Milo Tanan. After all, we have a Mari Makom like this. This we saw a while back in Maseches Ksubis. Lakach min ha'ish. V'chazar v'lakach min ha'isha mekcho batel. We know that a man has certain properties that he has to keep as collateral in the event, I should say, collateral is not the right word, as a backup in order to pay the ksuba for if and when they ever get divorced. So says the Gemara, if the man sells those properties, and even if the woman agrees to it, mekcho batel. Why? Because she wants to make him happy. But Lamaisa, that's to her detriment in a major way. Alma, we therefore see that there is this concept of her saying nachas ruach labaili. Hachanami, here in this case as well. Wow, what do you mean haraya yesh? If he brings a proof that he sold it, perhaps she was just being, kind of go with the flow kind of wife, and fine. Hachanami teima nachas ruach asisi labaili. Says the Gemara, you can't say that because idmar Allah, Omar Rabba bar Rav Huna lo nitzracha ela beosan gimel sados. That perhaps this idea of lakach min ha'ish v'chazar v'lakach min ha'isha, the Mishnah from Ksubis, that's 6 lines from the bottom of the page. Lo nitzracha ela beosan gimel sados. That's only talking about 3 types of fields, not talking about every kind of property that mekcho batel. Only sometimes is mekcho batel. What are the 3 fields? Achas shekasav b'ksubasa. One is talking about a field that was specifically written into the ksuba. Field number 4 at my address 123 Main Street. That's a specific field. The achas sheyichel b'ksubasa. One that the ksuba was general about, but he was miyached. He wrote, there is a field that I will use as backup, and verbally he said it's field number 4. Okay. The achas sheichnisah lo shum mishala. One was the one that she brought in, a property that she'll get back after marriage. This is not nechsei tzon barza. This is not nechsei maluk, it's nechsei tzon barza. It says the Gemara, what does this line of Rabba bar Rav Huna mean when qualifying the Mishnah in Ksubas? If what you want to say is that it's mekcho batel under all circumstances, it's going to seem if every sale that she gets involved in is always batel for every property, doesn't that sound like she wants to just keep all of his property if and when he dies? That implies the Amar La Einayich Nosan the Gerushin V'Misa. Your eyes, you're what's it called, the gold digger. You're just looking for all the finances. You can be mavatel any sale I want for any prop. No way, that can't be what the Mishnah means. Ella, it must be 4 lines down on Nunam and Aleph. It must be lemeute nichse melug. It must be that we're talking about precluding the ability of her to sell nichse melug. Amar Ameimar, how can you say that? How can you say that? It should be that there's no sale ever of nechse maluk, that there is no sale at all. So how could you have said on the previous page that haraya yesh, that if he's able to bring a raya that he sold that she sold him the property free and clear? What does that mean? Nechse maluk, says Ameimar, no sale at all. So therefore, you can't have a chazaka by nechse maluk because you can never sell nechse maluk. So says the Gemara, ki itmar de ameimar, the line of ameimar that says that a husband and wife can never sell nechse maluk, that's hecha de zavin ihu umis. That's where he was willing to sell his portion and he died. So ihi umifka. So even if he sold his portion, the payros, to a third party, if he dies and she's still alive, she can retake the payros that the husband had sold while he was alive. Inami, Zavna ihi umesa, if she sold her property and died, then also ihu mafik b'takanta derabana. Then the husband can extract the nichse maluk from whoever she had sold it from. Uchad Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Dam Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. The Usha hiskinu. When they were in Usha, they made a takana. We learned this Gemara a number of times. It looks like 5 or 6 times. Ha'isha shemachra b'nichse maluk umesa. If a woman sold her nichse malug and then she died, habal motzi miyad halakuchos. Under those circumstances, the husband is allowed to extract the nichse malug from whoever the woman sold her property to. Aval hecha dezvinu tarvaihu le'alma. Once they both agree to the sale, inami zavna ihi ledidei, or if she sold it directly to him, zvina zvine. So when we were talking about the din of Amemar, it needs clarification. If she sells it directly to him, no problem. Amemar wasn't talking about that when he said that it isn't a sale. Amemar was saying it isn't a sale if one sells to a third party and then that person dies. That's when we say that what was the language? Lo asav lo klum. However, if she sells it to him or if they both agree to sell it, then that's a full sale. And then, of course, because it's a full sale, he can be a squatter. He can then make a chazaka. A little bit more than halfway down. Another approach to Amemar. And this little brisa is going to bring us to the top of Nun Amud Beis, where we're going to stop for today. What is this second answer? The Ibaisema Amemar, the sheet of Amemar that says Ish v'isha shamachru b'nechzei melug la'as v'lo klum, that's Rebbe Lazar. Which sheet of Rebbe Lazar is this? We're going to see a brisa now. Rebbe Lazar is the fourth shita in this brisa, and it will align with the shita of Amemar. And the Gemara says as follows: the Tanya. We have a brisa from Maseches Bava Kama. Hamocher es abdo. I sell Tevi my eved. I sell him to you. However, I sold it to you, but upasaki moshi yishmishenu shloshim yom. I sold it to you, but I re-rented him for 30 days. Okay. Then Rav Meir Omer Harishon, the first guy, the original owner, Yeshno Bedin Yom O Yomayim. What is the din of Yom O Yomayim? So this is from a pasuk in Chumash. The pasuk says, "Ach im Yom O Yomayim Ya'amod Lo Yukam Ki Kaspahu." If a person, if an eved is injured and he dies only after a couple of days, so then you're not held accountable. So basically, if an eved gets hurt, who's responsible? So says the Gemara in the name of Rav Meir, Harishon Yeshno Bedin Yomo Yomim. The first guy is responsible because I'm the first guy is watching him. He doesn't own him, but he's using him. Because he's not, the guy's still in my care. I sold Tevi to you, but I'm keeping him for 30 more days. Our sale's done. I don't own the Eved anymore. You do. Rav Meir looked at it as though the usage of the Eved makes it that the original owner, the seller, is now still Achroi. Kasavar, that's because he holds Kinyan Peros ke Kinyan Aguftami. Because he gets the proceeds of the Eved, he owns the Eved. If you get the Peros of the Eved, it's like you own the Eved. Rabbi Yehuda argues the exact opposite. Omer Hasheni Yeshno B'din Yomo Yomayim Ibnei Shukaspo. The Eved has a status of owned by the second person. I sold it to you on January 1st. I'm using it until February 1st. Who's the owner? I'm the user. You're the owner, says Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore, the first person is nothing. The second person is the owner. Harishon Eino B'din Yomo Yomayim She'eno Kaspo Kasavar. Clearly, Rabbi Yehuda holds Kinyan Peros Lav Kinyan Aguftami. He holds that the fact that I, the seller, the one who's re-renting the Evet, the fact that I am using him, I get his payros, that's lav k'kinyan aguvi. I don't own that guy. You own that guy. You're the responsible party. Rabbi Yossi offers a third iteration. Omer, he says, turning to the top of Nun Amud Beis, and we're heading to the 2 dots in just 7 or 8 lines. Shneim yeshnon b'din yomo yomayim. Wow, it's a very machnu shita. Both parties are held accountable. Why? Because one guy's actually using the Eved, that's me. I sold him to you, but I'm still using him in the month of January. And you, Tex, you own this person, so you're responsible too. And umisafkale, the reason why we can dance at both parties, you can't, how could you say both? How could you say 2 people are responsible? One person owns this Eved. Which one is it? That's because, says the Gemara, that Reb Yossi was, second line, umisafkalei kinyan peros ke kinyan aguftami ilav ke kinyan aguftami. The suffix nefashos lahaka. There, Reb Yossi was concerned. Who really is the owner? He's like, I'm just not sure if we hold one way or the other. And because there's a serious halachic scenario going on here, we paskin like both. It's a suffix. Rebbe Lazar, let's remember, we started all of this price because of Rebbe Lazar. We're trying to figure out the sheet of Amemar. So before we learn the sheet of Amemar, before we learn the sheet of Rebbe Lazar, let's relearn the sheet of Amemar. That's on Nun Amud Aleph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down. Amemar said, Ish v'isha shemachru b'nichsei melug. If a husband and a wife try to sell the nichsei melug, lo asav v'lo klum. Now let's look at Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar says on the 5th line of this page, he says, Shneim einen b'din yomo yomayim. Neither of them are fully achroi. Zeh lefi she'eno tachtav. The second guy is not responsible because the Eved's not with him. The zeh lefi she'eno kaspo. And the first guy is not chayev, not responsible because of what? He doesn't own the animal. He doesn't own the Eved. That's exactly why the sale doesn't work by the nichsei melug. Why? She owns the orchard. He gets rights to peros. Same exact suffix of Rebbe Lazar. Amar Rava, my time of Rebbe Lazar. What's the svar by Rebbe Lazar? Amar Kra lo yukam ki kasbo hu. Kasbo hamayuchad lo. That's only when we know who the Eved belongs to. But here things are murky. I sell this Eved to Tex on January 1st, but we negotiate that I get to keep this Eved for January. I don't own it. Tex does, but Tex is not using it. I am. So because it's Bein Hashmashos, it's not Kasbo Meyuchad lo. That's Rebbe Lazar. That also explains Ameva. We'll stop right here at the 2 dots. Emir Tashem, tomorrow night we'll catch up. I'll be here for Shabbos Emir Tashem with a slightly modified time because we have my brother's giving a shiur at Kins, and I have to be there for that, and I'm excited to be there for that. And in the meantime, I'll let you know what time learning is on Shabbos. We'll stop right here. Wish you all a beautiful night.